It's not what you think. It was just an accident. My wife said when I caught her in our marital bed with a coworker. I kicked her out and filed for divorce after 26 years together. It all started on a Saturday afternoon. I'd come home early from my job as a civil engineer because we had plans to have dinner together. Camila, my wife, a literature teacher, was supposedly at a meeting with colleagues from the school where she taught. Nothing out of the ordinary. Our marriage was solid, or at least I thought so. 26 years building a life together. 2 independent children, Lucas, 24, and Sophia, 22. A paid-off house, a comfortable routine. I decided to surprise her and stopped by her favorite restaurant to pick up Italian takeout. When I got home, her car was in the garage. Strange. She was supposed to be back later. I walked in the front door with the food bags in my hands, whistling absently. The house was silent. I went upstairs to our room to change my clothes. What I saw when I opened our bedroom door broke me in two. Camila was in our bed. Our bed. The same one where we'd slept for 26 years. The same one where our dreams and plans were born. And she wasn't alone. There was a man with her, a man I recognized immediately. Marcos, her best friend from work. The same one she always defended when I expressed my discomfort with their closeness. The same one who came to our house for Christmas. The same one who knew my children. They both froze when they saw me. Camila screamed my name. Marcos awkwardly tried to cover himself with the sheets. I dropped the food bags. The sound of plastic containers hitting the floor was the only thing that broke the deadly silence that followed. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't move. I just stared at them for what felt like hours, but it was only seconds. Then I turned around and went downstairs with firm, controlled steps. Roberto, wait, please, let me explain. Camila's voice echoed hysterically behind me as she ran down the stairs wrapped in a robe. It's not what you think. It was an accident. I swear it was an accident. I stopped dead in the hallway. I turned around slowly to look at her. Her face was red, tears running down her cheeks, her hair a mess. Marcos appeared behind her half-dressed with his shirt buttoned wrong. An accident, I repeated in a voice so cold I didn't recognize it as my own. You tripped and fell on his dick by accident, Camila. She recoiled as if I'd slapped her. Marcos tried to speak, but I held up a hand. You, I said without raising my voice. You have exactly 30 seconds to get out of my house before I call the police, and if I ever see you near my family again, I won't be responsible for my actions. Marcos turned pale and literally ran out, tripping over his own feet in his hurry to get to the door. The sound of his car starting and speeding away echoed down the street. I turned to Camila. She was trembling from head to toe, her hands clasped in a pleading gesture. Roberto, please, listen to me. I know what you saw is horrible, but it's not what it seems. Marcos and I have been having personal problems for a while, and we've been supporting each other. Today things got out of control. We didn't plan for this to happen. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I love you. I've always loved you. This marriage is the most important thing to me. I looked at her in silence. I really looked at her. The woman I'd married 26 years ago. The woman who had promised me faithfulness in front of 150 guests. The mother of my children. The person I'd trusted most in the world. How long? I asked in a monotone voice. What? How long have you been cheating on me with Marcos? She swallowed hard. This only happened today. I swear. A lie. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Her eyes widened. Roberto, I'm telling you the truth. I replied firmly. People don't end up in bed the first time things get out of control. There's a progression, glances, texts, maybe a kiss, then another, then secret meetings. I'm going to ask you one more time, and I want the truth. How long? Camila looked down at the floor. Several eternal seconds passed before she whispered. 8 months. I felt like I'd been hit in the stomach with a sledgehammer. 8 months. Almost a year of lies, of betrayal, of infidelity, while I worked to pay for this house, while we had dinner together every night, while we made love in that same bed now stained with her deceit. Get out of my house, I said with a calm I didn't feel. Roberto, please, pack your bags and get out of my house. Now, where am I going to go? This is my house too. We need to talk about this. We can go to couples therapy. I can make it up to you. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. This can't be fixed, Camila. What we built for 26 years you destroyed in 8 months. I want you to leave. If you don't do it willingly, I'll call the police and have you removed by force. You decide. She fell to her knees in front of me, sobbing uncontrollably. Please, Roberto, think about our children. Think about everything we've built. You can't just throw it all away like this. I didn't throw anything away, I replied in a firm voice. You did it for the 8 months you were with that man. Every time you lied to me. Every time you kissed me after being with him. You threw our marriage in the trash, didn't you? I turned and walked to my office. I locked the door and took out my phone. My hands were shaking as I dialed the number of my best friend, Andres, also a divorce lawyer. Roberto, what's wrong? His voice sounded worried. It was almost 8 p.m. on a Saturday. I need a divorce now as fast as possible. There was a pause. What happened? I came home early. Camila was in our bed with Marcos. 8 months of infidelity. I'm so sorry, man. His professional tone kicked in immediately. Do you have proof? I saw them with my own eyes. That's not enough for the courts. We need documented evidence. What do you need? Texts, emails, photos, videos, call logs, anything that proves the affair. We also need to document all your assets before she can move them. Do you have joint bank accounts? Yes. Go to the bank first thing tomorrow. Withdraw half of everything in the joint accounts and open new ones in your name. It's your legal right. Also change the passwords to all your personal accounts, email, social media, everything. Okay. Do you have access to her phone or computer? It's probably unlocked somewhere in the house. Get whatever proof you can. Screenshots of texts with Marcos, emails, whatever you find, send them to me. First thing Monday morning we file for divorce. I hung up and sat in my office chair staring at the walls. The walls that Camila and I had painted together 12 years ago. The family pictures hanging there. Our children at their graduations. Beach vacations, happy Christmases. It was all a lie. Or at least the last 8 months were. I heard movement outside the office. Footsteps, the sound of suitcases rolling, drawers opening and closing. Camila was doing what I asked, at least that. 2 hours later, I heard a soft knock on the office door. Roberto. Her voice was hoarse from crying. I'm leaving now. I'll stay at my sister's house. Please, just give me a chance to explain everything when you're calmer. I love you. I never stopped loving you. I didn't answer. I heard her footsteps moving away, the front door opening and closing, her car's engine starting and driving off into the night. Only then did I leave the office. The house was silent. A different kind of silence than usual. This silence was heavy with absence and betrayal. I went upstairs to our bedroom. The sheets were still a mess. The smell of her perfume mixed with his still lingered in the air. I ripped the sheets off the bed with contained fury. I threw them all into a black garbage bag. Then I opened the windows wide to let the cool night air erase any trace of what I'd witnessed. That's when I saw Camila's phone on her nightstand. She'd forgotten it in her rush to leave. I picked it up. It was unlocked. I opened WhatsApp and searched for the conversation with Marcos. What I read in the next 30 minutes shattered me more than seeing them in bed together. The messages between Camila and Marcos went back more than a year. At first, they were innocent conversations about work, then they became more personal. He told her about his marital problems. She told him about her boredom with me. They described me as predictable, monotonous, someone who no longer had a spark. I kept reading, my stomach churning with every message. Marcos, 10 months ago. I can't stop thinking about you since yesterday. When our hands brushed in the teacher's lounge, I felt electricity. Camila, I felt it too. It makes me feel alive in a way I haven't in years. Marcos and Roberto? Camila. Roberto's a good man, a good provider, but the passion died a long time ago. Sometimes I feel like we're just roommates who share a bed. Every word was a stab wound. I kept scrolling down, documenting everything with screenshots that I sent to Andres' email. Marcos, 8 months ago. I need to see you alone. Really, I can't keep pretending we're just friends. Camila. Me neither, but I'm scared. Roberto never suspects anything, but if he finds out. Marcos, he won't find out. You're very careful. Besides, don't you deserve to be happy? Camila. You're right. I deserve to be happy. Then came the pictures. Pictures of them together in hotels, selfies in bed in rooms I didn't recognize. Images I could never erase from my memory, no matter how much I wanted to. I found evidence of at least 15 encounters in different motels in the city, always on Wednesday afternoons when I worked late at the construction site. Camila would tell me she had extra classes or department meetings. I believed her because I never had a reason to doubt her until I did. There was a particularly disturbing message from 3 weeks ago. Marcos, will you ever tell Roberto the truth? Camila, I don't know. Part of me wants to be honest with him, but another part doesn't want to lose the stability I have. Roberto's reliable. I'll never lack anything with him. But with you I feel something I thought was dead. Marcos, so what am I? Your fun? Camila, you're my escape. My happiness. Please, don't ruin this by pressuring me. Let me handle my marriage my own way. I felt nauseous. I literally had to run to the bathroom and vomit. When I finished, I splashed my face with cold water and looked at myself in the mirror. The man looking back at me seemed to have aged 10 years in the last 3 hours. I went back to Camila's phone. I kept looking and found something even worse. A WhatsApp group called Schoolgirls, where Camila had talked about me and Marcos with her teacher friends. Camila, 6 months ago. Roberto doesn't even notice anything. Last night, I came home late from being with Marcos, and he just asked me if I'd eaten dinner. He's so naive it almost makes me feel sorry for him. Patricia, her friend, don't you feel bad for cheating on him? You said he was a good husband. Camila, he's a good husband in the basic sense. He pays the bills, he doesn't drink, he's not violent. But otherwise it's like being married to a piece of furniture. Marcos makes me feel like a woman again. Patricia, be careful. Good men like Roberto are rare. If he finds out, you're going to lose a lot. Camila, he won't find out. I'm very careful. And if it ever happens, well, I'll have a plan B by then. I took screenshots of everything. Every incriminating message, every photo, every conversation where they ridiculed me or planned their encounters. The evidence was overwhelming and devastating. It was almost 11 p.m. when I finished going through her phone. I'd sent over 100 screenshots to Andres' email. More than enough evidence for an express divorce, with no chance for her to claim anything. I sat on the living room couch with a bottle of whiskey we kept for special occasions. I poured a glass and downed it in one gulp. The liquid burned, but not as much as the betrayal I felt in my chest. My phone rang. It was my son, Lucas. Dad, Mom just called me crying. She says you had a terrible fight and you kicked her out of the house. What happened? I closed my eyes. I didn't want to involve my kids in this, but I wasn't going to lie to them either. Lucas, your mother and I are having serious problems. It's something between adults, and I'd rather not give you details right now. I just need you to know that your mother is okay. She's with your aunt, and that we both love you and your sister. This doesn't change any of that. Dad, Mom says you're overreacting, that she made a mistake, but you guys can fix it. Why don't you give her a chance? I felt rage. Of course, Camila was already manipulating the narrative, painting herself as the victim of my overreaction. Son, I'm not going to speak ill of your mother to you. When you're older and understand certain things, you'll know I made the right decision. For now, I just ask that you trust me. Okay, Dad. I love you. I love you too, son. I hung up and immediately got a call from my daughter. Sophia. Dad, what did you do to Mom? She's heartbroken. Sophia, calm down. Your mother is only telling you her side of the story. She says she made a mistake and you kicked her out without even listening to her. That's true. I listened to her, and I made my decision based on what I know. And what exactly do you know? Because Mom didn't want to give me details. I took a deep breath. Your mother had an 8-month affair with another man. I caught them together in our bed. That's the truth. Silence on the other end of the line. Then I heard a sob. What? No, that can't be true. Mom wouldn't do that. She did, Sophia, and I have proof. I know this is very hard to process, and I don't expect you to take sides, but I need you to understand I didn't make this decision lightly. Dad, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, my love. I just need you to know that your mother and I will always be your parents, no matter what happens between us. I love you. I love you too, Dad. After hanging up with Sophia, I turned off my phone. I didn't have the energy for more conversations that night. Sunday dawned gray and rainy, matching my mood. I woke up on the living room couch with a terrible neck ache and an even worse emotional hangover. The whiskey bottle was empty beside me. I checked my phone. I had 37 missed calls from Camila from different numbers. I guess after realizing she'd left her phone. I also had messages from her sister, Elena, begging me to reconsider, to talk to Camila, that the marriage was worth saving. I ignored everything and drove to Andres' house. My friend opened the door still in his pajamas with a coffee cup in his hand. You look like shit, he said bluntly. I feel worse. We went into his home office. His laptop was open with all the screenshots I'd sent him organized into folders. Roberto, This is pure gold for the case, Andre said as he reviewed the files. With this you can get a quick divorce, and she'll be able to claim practically nothing. Proven infidelity is grounds for divorce without equitable distribution of assets in many cases. How long will it take? With this evidence, we can have the divorce finalized in 3 to 6 months, but there are some details we need to sort out. The house is in both your names. Yes, but I paid 80% of the mortgage with my money. She only contributed 20%. Good, we need to document that. I also need you to bring me all the bank statements from the last 3 years, property records, cars, investments, everything. I'll do it. One more thing. Do you want this to be public or private? With this evidence, we can make a lot of noise if you want, or we can handle it discreetly. I thought of my children, of their pain, of how this would affect them. Discreetly, for my children. I don't want this to become a circus. Understood. First thing tomorrow morning we go to the courthouse and file the petition. In the meantime, go to the bank, protect your assets, and document everything. On Monday at 9 a.m., I was at the bank. I withdrew half the money from all the joint accounts and deposited it into a new account in my name. I changed the passwords to all my personal accounts. I talked to my boss and asked for a few days off, vaguely explaining I had a family emergency. At 10 a.m., I was with Andres at the courthouse signing the divorce petition. The grounds, proven infidelity. We attached all the evidence I'd collected from Camila's phone. The sheriff will serve her the papers within the next 48 hours, Andres explained. She'll have 30 days to respond. Given how solid our case is, her lawyer will likely advise her to accept a settlement. And if she doesn't accept, then we go to trial and present all this evidence publicly. Believe me, Roberto, her lawyer won't want that to happen. They'll crucify her. That afternoon, while I was at home organizing documents, the doorbell rang. I opened the door and found Camila. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her hair was unkempt, and she was wearing wrinkled clothes. I hadn't seen her like this in all our years of marriage. Roberto, please, we need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. You'll receive the divorce papers in the next few days. Divorce, Roberto, no please, no. I made a terrible mistake, but we can get through this. We'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever it takes. What it took was being faithful, not cheating on me for 8 months, not bringing your lover into our bed, not making fun of me with your friends, not planning your encounters while I worked to support this family. Her face went pale. How do you know? You left your phone. I saw everything. The messages with Marcos, the photos, the conversations with your friends where you laughed about how naive I am, everything. Camila covered her mouth with her hands, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. Roberto, I'm so sorry, I was confused. Marcos manipulated me. He made me believe what I felt for him was real. He manipulated you, Camila. I read your own words. No one forced you to do anything. You chose every day. For 8 months you chose to betray me. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. But you can't throw away 26 years over this. I didn't throw them away. You did. The children need us together. The children are adults, and they deserve to see their father respect himself enough not to tolerate betrayal. Roberto, please, I'm begging you. Give me a chance to show you I can change. I looked at her intently. The woman in front of me was a stranger, the Camila I knew, the one I loved. She would never have been capable of this. Or maybe she was, and I just never really knew her. The answer is no. Sign the papers when you get them, and let's make this as civil as possible for the sake of Lucas and Sophia. And if I refuse, then I'll present all the evidence publicly in court. Every message, every photo, every detail of your affair will be public knowledge. Your family will know, your friends will know, your colleagues at school will know. Do you really want that? Camila lowered her head. Defeated. No. Then cooperate. Accept the settlement I'm going to offer you. I'll let you keep your car and a reasonable sum so you can get settled. I'm keeping the house. Considering I paid 80% of it, it's more than fair. And what am I going to tell people? Tell them the truth, that you were unfaithful and your husband wouldn't tolerate it. Or lie if you want. Frankly, I don't care what you say anymore. I left her standing there on the doorstep and locked the door behind me. Through the window, I saw her stand motionless for several minutes before finally returning to her car. That night I got a call from Elena, Camila's sister. Roberto, please, reconsider. Camila is a wreck. She hasn't eaten or slept in 2 days. She's on medication because she had a panic attack. Elena, With all due respect, that's not my problem. She made her choices. But 26 years of marriage have to mean something. Are you really going to throw it all away? Why does everyone keep saying that? I didn't throw anything away. Your sister had an affair for 8 months. That's the reality. We all make mistakes, Roberto. Even you. I never cheated on your sister. I never disrespected her. I never put our family at risk for a selfish whim. So no, not all of us make that kind of mistake. You're being very harsh. I'm being fair. There's a difference. I hung up. The next few days were a blur. Andres called to confirm that Camila had received the divorce papers. Her lawyer got in touch and requested a meeting to discuss terms. Andres scheduled it for Friday of that week. Friday came faster than I expected. The meeting was to be held at Andres' office at 2 p.m. I arrived 15 minutes early, nervous despite knowing I held all the cards. Andres greeted me in his office with a coffee and a pat on the shoulder. Ready for this? As ready as I can be. Remember, stay calm. No matter what she or her lawyer says, we're in control here. At 2 o'clock sharp, Andres' secretary opened the door and announced the arrival of Camila and her legal representative, a woman named Fernanda Ruiz, known for being aggressive in divorce cases. Camila walked in with her gaze down, dressed in a dark suit with her hair pulled back. She looked haggard, with deep dark circles under her eyes and dry lips. For a moment, I felt a pang of compassion, but then I remembered the photos of her with Marcos in different hotels, and the compassion evaporated. Her lawyer, on the other hand, walked in with a firm stride and a hard expression. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair styled in a severe bun and gold-rimmed glasses. Mr. Andres, she greeted formally. Mr. Roberto, let's get straight to the point. My client is willing to accept the divorce, but she considers the proposed division of assets to be unfair and disproportionate. Andres smiled slightly and opened a folder in front of him. Disproportionate? Let's see. Your client had a proven extramarital affair lasting 8 months. We have photographic evidence, text messages, and testimonies that confirm it. Furthermore, my client financed 80% of the marital home, while your client barely contributed 20%. In this context, allowing her to keep her vehicle and a compensation of $20,000 is more than generous. Fernanda leaned forward. Infidelity doesn't automatically eliminate my client's right to marital assets. She also worked during those 26 years and contributed to the household. She contributed significantly less. Andres countered. And her proven infidelity is legal grounds for a divorce without equitable distribution in this state. If this goes to trial, we'll present all the evidence publicly. Is your client prepared for her intimate messages, her photographs with her lover, and her conversations mocking my client to become part of the public record? Camila visibly paled. She leaned towards her lawyer and whispered something in her ear. Fernanda frowned but nodded. My client requests to speak directly with Mr. Roberto in private. I looked at Andres, who subtly shook his head. Not advisable, he muttered. But I needed to close this chapter. Fine. 5 minutes. The lawyers left the room, leaving us alone. Camila and I looked at each other across the conference table. The silence was deafening. Roberto, she began in a trembling voice. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable, but please don't leave me with nothing. 26 years have to count for something. They do count, I replied in a neutral voice. That's why I'm offering you $20,000 in your car. It's more than I legally have to give you. And where will I live? How will I pay rent until I find something stable? That's your problem now. Camila, not mine. Roberto, please, I'm willing to do anything, whatever it takes, but don't leave me on the street. You put yourself in this situation every time you chose to go with Marcos instead of working on our marriage. Every time you lied to me about where you were. Every time you laughed at me with your friends. You did this. I know. She sobbed. I know, and I regret it every second of every day. If I could turn back time, I would, but I can't. I can only try to make it up to you somehow. There's no compensation possible for what you did. You broke something that can't be fixed. And what about the good things? All the happy years we had, our children, the times we were there for each other. None of that matters. It mattered. Past tense. But you tainted it all with your betrayal. Now when I think of those happy moments, I wonder how many were real and how many were a lie. Camila covered her face with her hands and cried inconsolably. Part of me wanted to comfort her out of reflex, out of 26 years of habit, but I forced myself to remain still. I'll accept your offer, she finally said through her tears. But I want you to know I never stopped loving you. I know I didn't show it, and I know my actions say otherwise, but in my heart, it was always you. If that were true, you wouldn't have done what you did. Real love doesn't cheat. Real love doesn't betray. What you felt for me wasn't love, Camila. It was comfort, it was security, it was convenience, but it wasn't love. You're wrong, she whispered. Maybe, but it doesn't matter anymore. I called the lawyers back in. Camila signed the divorce agreement with a trembling hand. I signed without hesitation. Andres certified the documents and would send them to the court that afternoon. The divorce will be final in 90 days, Andres explained. During that time, you shouldn't have any contact, except what's strictly necessary related to the legal process or matters concerning the children. Camila and her lawyer left without saying goodbye. I watched them leave through the window of Andres' office. Camila walked as if she were carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Are you okay? Andres asked when we were alone. I don't know. Am I supposed to feel okay? You're supposed to feel whatever you feel. There's no right or wrong way to process this. I feel empty, as if someone ripped a part of me out. It's normal. You were with her for more than half your life. You're not going to get over it in a week. That night Lucas came to visit me. He came in with a serious expression and sat across from me in the living room. Dad, we need to talk. About what? About Mom, about you, about all of this. Lucas, I don't want to put you in the middle of this. I'm not in the middle of anything. I'm your son, and I want to understand what really happened. Mom gave me her version. Now I want to hear yours. I told him everything, without omitting painful details, but without gloating about them either. I told him how I found them, about the messages I found, the evidence of 8 months of infidelity. Lucas listened in silence, his face going through various expressions of surprise, pain, and finally anger. I can't believe Mom would do that, he said when I finished. All my life I saw you guys as the perfect marriage example. You lied to me for years. I didn't lie to you, son. Your mother and I had a good marriage. Or at least I thought we did. Things changed in the last year without me knowing. How could you not notice? 8 months is a long time. I trusted her. I never had a reason to doubt. That was my naivete. Lucas ran his hands over his face, a gesture he inherited from me. I talked to Mom yesterday. She's devastated. She says she loves you, and she made the biggest mistake of her life. That may be true, but it doesn't change anything. There's no chance of forgiveness of trying again. No, son. There are some things that just can't be forgiven. Not because I don't want to, but because the damage is too deep. I can't trust your mother anymore. And a marriage without trust isn't a marriage. Lucas nodded slowly. I understand. And just so you know, I'm not angry with you. You did what you had to do. It's just hard to process that my family is falling apart. Your family isn't falling apart. Your mother and I are getting divorced, but we're still your parents. That's never going to change. I know, but it won't be the same. No, it won't. After Lucas left, I was alone again in that big, empty house. I walked through the rooms, remembering moments of our family life. The kitchen where Camila made breakfast on Sundays, the living room where we watched movies together, the garden where the kids played when they were little. Every corner was steeped in memories, good and bad, real and now questionable. My phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated to answer, but I finally did. Roberto. It was a man's voice. It took me a second to recognize it. Marcos, what do you want? I asked in an icy voice. I need to talk to you face to face. I owe you an explanation. You don't owe me anything, and I have no interest in seeing you. Please, just give me 10 minutes. After that, you'll never hear from me again. Something in his tone made me hesitate. He didn't sound defiant or arrogant. He sounded defeated. 10 minutes. Tomorrow at 10 at the cafe on the corner of my street. Not a minute more. Thanks. I'll be there. I hung up, wondering if I was making a mistake by agreeing to see him. But part of me needed answers. I needed to understand what was in the head of the man who helped destroy my marriage. On Saturday at 10 o'clock sharp, I arrived at the cafe. Marcos was already there, sitting at a table in the back with 2 cups of coffee in front of him. He looked terrible, haggard, with several days' stubble and deep dark circles. I sat across from him without greeting him. You have 10 minutes. Talk. Marcos took a deep breath. First of all, I know no apology is worth anything for what I did, but I need you to know it was never my intention to destroy your family. Oh no. So what was it? An accident that you slept with my wife repeatedly for 8 months? It was selfishness, pure and simple selfishness. Camila and I had similar problems in our marriages. We got close as friends sharing frustrations, and somehow that closeness turned into something more. You were married too? Yes, for 5 years. My wife left me when she found out about Camila and me. Good. I hope it was as painful for you as it was for me. It was. I lost everything. My marriage, my reputation, my job. Your job? I quit the school. I couldn't stay there after everything came to light. The rumors, the stares, the gossip. It was unbearable. I felt no satisfaction from this information. Only emptiness. And what about Camila? Are you still seeing her? Marcos shook his head vehemently. No, we ended everything the day you caught us. She told me it was a terrible mistake and that we should have never crossed that line. I think she really loves you, Roberto, in a twisted, selfish way, but she loves you. I don't care. I know. I just wanted you to know that it wasn't something we did to hurt you. I know that doesn't make it better. But you're right. It doesn't make it better. In fact, it makes it worse, because it means you destroyed 2 families for simple selfish gratification. Marcos looked down. I know, and I live with that guilt every day. Good. I hope you keep living with it for the rest of your life. Now get out. Your 10 minutes are up. Marcos stood up slowly. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. It's worth nothing. I watched him leave the cafe with slumped shoulders, and even though I'd gotten the answers I was looking for, I didn't feel better. I just felt more tired. The next 2 months passed in a monotonous routine. Work, home, sleep, repeat. I avoided going out socially because I didn't have the energy to explain to acquaintances why Camila was no longer with me. I avoided places where I might run into her. I avoided thinking too much in general. Sophia came to visit me several times. Unlike Lucas, she seemed more conflicted about the situation. Dad, is there really no way to fix this? She asked during one of her visits. Mom says she misses you terribly, that she'd do anything to get you back. Your mother had 8 months to decide if she wanted to be with me or with Marcos. She chose Marcos. Now she has to live with the consequences. But she says it was a mistake, that she was confused. Sophia, would you forgive your boyfriend if he cheated on you for 8 months? If you found him in bed with someone else? She was silent, considering the question. She finally shook her head. No, probably not. So you understand why I can't forgive your mother? Yes, but it's hard to see you both so unhappy. Sometimes infidelity is the result of pain, not its cause. During that time, Camila tried to contact me multiple times. Long, emotional letters she left in my mailbox. Tearful voicemails begging for another chance. Flowers sent to my office. Each attempt made me feel firmer in my decision. Finally, at the beginning of the 3rd month, I got the call from Andres. The divorce was approved. It's official. You're no longer married. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief because I could finally close this chapter. Sadness because it meant 26 years of my life had come to a definitive end. Thanks, Andres, for everything. You're welcome, brother. Now the real work begins, rebuilding your life. The night the divorce became official, I sat on the living room couch with a glass of wine and looked at the empty walls. I'd taken down all the family photos weeks ago, unable to bear seeing the fake smiles of what I thought was a happy family. The house felt bigger and colder than ever. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Sophia. Dad, Mom is in the hospital. She took pills. Please come. The world stopped for a moment. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and the pain, Camila had been my partner for 26 years, the mother of my children. I drove to the hospital with my heart in my throat. When I got to the emergency room, I found Lucas and Sophia sitting in the waiting room, both with pale faces and red eyes. What happened? I asked immediately. Aunt Elena found her unconscious in her apartment. Lucas explained in a trembling voice. There was an empty bottle of anti-anxiety pills next to her and a note. A note. Sophia handed me her phone. Elena had sent her a photo of the note. With shaking hands, I read the words written in Camila's handwriting. I can't go on living with the weight of what I did. Roberto, forgive me. Kids, I love you. This is no one's fault but my own. I can't bear the pain of having lost you anymore. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Despite everything that had happened, I never imagined it would come to this. A doctor came out of the emergency room and approached us. Family of Camila Herrera. Yes, the 3 of us answered in unison. Your mother is stable. We pumped her stomach and she responded well. They found her in time. A few more hours, and it would have been different. Can we see her? Sophia asked through tears. In a few minutes. First, I need to talk to you about her mental health. It's clear your mother is going through a severe crisis. We recommend a full psychiatric evaluation and possibly a voluntary 72-hour hospitalization. After talking with the doctor, we were allowed to go in to see her. Camila was in a hospital bed hooked up to and for, her face paler than ever. When she saw me, she started to cry. Roberto, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. The kids went to her first, each taking one of her hands. I stood at the foot of the bed, maintaining physical and emotional distance. Mom, how could you do this? Sophia sobbed. What would we have done without you? I'm sorry, my love. I wasn't thinking clearly. The pain was too much. Lucas squeezed her hand. Mom, you need professional help. This can't happen again. Camila nodded weakly and then looked directly at me. Roberto, can I talk to you alone? Lucas and Sophia looked at me with pleading expressions. I sighed and nodded. The kids left the room, leaving us alone. I didn't do this to manipulate you, Camila said immediately. I know you probably think so, but I swear I didn't. I just couldn't keep living knowing I destroyed the only good thing in my life. Camila, what you did today was selfish, maybe more selfish than your infidelity. She looked at me confused. What? Your children almost lost you. Can you imagine the trauma you caused them? The weight they would have carried for the rest of their lives if they hadn't found you in time. All because of your inability to handle the consequences of your own actions. Tears ran down her face. You're right. I wasn't thinking about them. I could only think about my pain. Exactly. And that's been your problem from the beginning. Your selfishness, your inability to think beyond yourself and your immediate needs. I know, God, I know. And that makes me feel even worse. I sat in the chair next to her bed, tired of standing, tired of everything. You're going to get professional help, intensive therapy, medication if necessary. And you're going to do it for Lucas and Sophia, not for me. And us. Is there any chance? No. I interrupted her firmly. The divorce was finalized today. We're legally no longer married, and emotionally we ended the day I found you with Marcos. This doesn't change any of that. But I almost died, Roberto. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It means I care about you as the mother of my children. It means I don't want you to suffer, but it doesn't mean I'll get back together with you. Don't confuse compassion with romantic forgiveness. Camila closed her eyes, silent tears slipping down her cheeks. So it's really over. It was over 3 months ago. Today just made it legally official. Will you ever be able to forgive me? Not to get back together, just to have peace. I thought about her question. Could I forgive her? Maybe someday when the pain faded and I could look back without feeling that pang in my chest. But that day wasn't today. I don't know, Camila. Maybe with time. But it's not something I can promise you. It's more than I deserve. She whispered. I stood up to leave. At the door, I stopped and turned back. Camila, find yourself. Work on understanding why you did what you did. Not for me, but for you. Because until you understand your own destructive patterns, you'll keep hurting yourself and those around you. I will, I promise you. I left the room and found Lucas and Sophia waiting anxiously. How is she? Sophia asked. Stable. Physically, she's going to be fine. Emotionally, she's going to need a lot of support from you guys. And from you? Lucas asked. I'll be there for you guys, but my relationship with your mother is over. That's not going to change. Even after this. Sophia nodded with tears in her eyes. We understand, Dad. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions. Camila was voluntarily hospitalized in a psychiatric clinic for 2 weeks. I visited occasionally, always accompanied by one of the kids, keeping conversations brief and superficial. During that time, I started my own therapy. My therapist, Dr. Ramirez, helped me process not only the betrayal, but also the weight of 26 years of marriage that ended so abruptly. It's normal to feel a mix of emotions, she explained during one session. Anger, sadness, relief, guilt, all at the same time. You don't have to choose just one emotion, you can feel them all. Guilt? Why should I feel guilty? Because you wonder if you could have done something different, if you could have noticed the signs sooner, if you were a good husband. Those are normal questions after a divorce due to infidelity. She was right. At night, when I couldn't sleep, my mind would replay the last few years of my marriage, looking for signs I should have seen. The times Camila came home late, the times she checked her phone more frequently, the times she seemed distant during intimacy. The signs were there. I had simply chosen not to see them because I trusted her. Is it my fault for trusting blindly? I asked Dr. Ramirez. Trust isn't a weakness, Roberto. It's the foundation of any healthy relationship. She betrayed that trust. Not you. A month after the incident, Camila was discharged from the clinic. She moved into a small apartment near her sister's place. The kids visited her regularly and kept me updated on her progress. She's doing better, Lucas told me one day. She goes to therapy 3 times a week, takes her medication. She even started tutoring again from home. I'm glad she's improving. She asks about you constantly, wants to know how you are. Lucas, I'm not going to. I know. I'm not trying to get you back together. I'm just letting you know. One afternoon, while working in my home office, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Elena, Camila's sister. Roberto, can I talk to you? I let her in, and we sat in the living room. Elena looked nervous, wringing her hands in her lap. Camila doesn't know I'm here, she began. But I need to tell you something she'll never tell you. What? The reason Camila did what she did. The affair, I mean. Elena, I don't think. Please, just listen to me. You need to know this. I sighed but nodded. 2 years ago, Camila had a miscarriage. She was 3 months pregnant. You were on that big construction project up north, remember? You were going to be gone for 2 months. I vaguely remembered that project. It had been one of the biggest of my career. Yes, I remember. Camila didn't tell you because she didn't want to worry you. She thought she could handle it on her own, but it devastated her. She fell into a deep depression that she never properly treated. She started to feel that you were so focused on your work that you didn't really see her, that she was just part of the furniture in your life. She never told me any of this. I know, and that was her mistake. But when Marcos showed up, offering her attention and making her feel seen, she fell into that trap. I'm not justifying what she did, she quickly added. I'm just explaining it. I sat in silence, processing this new information. A miscarriage, depression, and I knew nothing. Why are you telling me this now? Because Camila is getting better, but she carries a lot of guilt. And part of that guilt comes from knowing she never shared her pain with you. I thought if you knew, maybe you could understand her a little better. Not to get back with her, she added quickly, but so you can close this chapter with a bit more understanding. After Elena left, I sat in the living room for hours, thinking about what she'd revealed. Did it change anything? In terms of my decision to divorce, no. Betrayal was still betrayal. But it did add a layer of complexity I hadn't considered. I called Dr. Ramirez and scheduled an emergency session. Does this change anything for you? She asked after I told her what Elena had revealed. It doesn't change my decision, but it makes me see that our marriage had deeper problems than I thought. Problems neither of us addressed. Exactly. Infidelity is rarely the main problem. It's usually a symptom of deeper issues in the relationship. But that doesn't excuse her. No, it doesn't excuse her, but it helps you understand. And understanding isn't the same as forgiving, but it's a step toward peace. That night, I made a decision. I called Camila. Roberto. Her voice sounded surprised. Are you okay? I'm fine. I need to talk to you. Can we meet tomorrow? Yes, of course. Where? At the park where we used to take the kids. At 3. The next day, I arrived at the park 10 minutes early. I sat on a bench near the playground where Lucas and Sophia used to play when they were little. Memories of those simple, happy days flooded me. Camila arrived exactly at 3. She looked better than the last time I saw her. The color had returned to her face. Her hair was neatly combed, and her eyes, though still sad, had more clarity. Hello, she greeted shyly as she sat next to me, maintaining a respectful distance. Hi, how have you been? Better. Therapy is helping, and the medication is keeping me stable. I'm glad. There was an awkward silence. Finally, I took a deep breath and spoke. Elena came to see me. She told me about the miscarriage. Camila paled. God, she shouldn't have done that. I'm glad she did. I needed to know. I didn't use it as an excuse. She said quickly, I don't want you to think I'm trying to justify what I did. I know, but it helps me understand. Not the cheating, but the context of our marriage, the problems that neither of us addressed. Camila started to cry. Silently. I should have told you when it happened, when I felt so lost. But I didn't want to be a burden. You were so focused on your work, on providing for the family. I thought I could handle it alone. And I should have noticed something was wrong. I should have been more present emotionally, not just financially. Roberto, don't do this. Don't blame yourself. I was the one who betrayed our trust. I was the one who chose the easy path instead of the hard one of communicating with you. We both failed, Camila, in different ways. You by cheating on me by not being present enough for you to feel you could share your pain with me. What does this mean? Is there a chance? No. I interrupted her gently but firmly. We're not getting back together. But maybe we can reach a place of mutual peace, not as husband and wife, but as two people who shared a life and are now learning to live apart. Camila nodded, wiping her tears. That's more than I hoped for. Thank you. I need to ask you something. I continued. I need you to stop trying to contact me romantically. No more letters, no flowers, no messages about how much you miss me. I need space to heal. And you need that space too. I will, I promise. Good. And I hope you continue with your therapy. Not just for me or the kids, but for you. I will. I've learned so much about myself these last few weeks. Things I don't like, but that I need to work on. We sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the children play in the park. It was a reminder of simpler times, when our biggest problems were deciding what to have for dinner or who would take whom to their activities. Will you ever be able to forgive me? Camila asked in a low voice. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe someday, but it's going to take time. A lot of time. I understand, and I'll respect your space. I stood up to leave. Take care, Camila. Really. You too, Roberto. I walked back to my car, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. Sadness for the definitive end of an important chapter of my life. Relief because there was finally some clarity and closure. 6 months after the divorce, my life had taken on a completely different rhythm. The house, which once felt too big and empty, was now my sanctuary. I had completely renovated the master bedroom, removing any trace of Camila, new furniture, new paint, new sheets. It was like starting from scratch. Work had become a welcome distraction. I'd immersed myself in increasingly ambitious projects, and my reputation as a civil engineer had grown considerably. I'd even started to consider opening my own consulting firm. The kids had found their own balance with the new family dynamic. Lucas had started a master's degree in business administration, and Sophia was in her final year of her psychology degree. Both maintained independent relationships with each of us, without pressuring us to get together. Camila, according to what the kids told me, had continued to improve. She continued with her therapy, had returned to full-time teaching, and had started to rebuild her social life. For my part, I had kept my promise not to contact her, except when absolutely necessary, related to the children. One Friday afternoon, while reviewing blueprints in my home office, I received a call from an unknown number. I hesitated, but answered, Roberto Martinez. It was a female voice I didn't recognize. Yes, who's speaking? My name is Patricia. We don't know each other, but I think you know my ex-husband, Marcos Villegas. I felt every muscle in my body tense up. What do you want? I know this call is uncomfortable, but I need to talk to you. Could we meet? I promise I won't take much of your time. My first instinct was to refuse. I had no desire to relive that chapter of my life. But something in her voice, a contained urgency, made me reconsider. What is this about? I'd rather tell you in person. Please, it's important. After much hesitation, I agreed to meet her the next day at a neutral cafe in the city center. Patricia arrived on time. She was an attractive woman in her 40s with short brown hair and green eyes that reflected a mix of determination and pain. We sat at a secluded table. Thanks for coming, she began. I know this must be strange for you. That's one way to put it. What do you need? First, I want you to know that I don't blame Camila for the destruction of my marriage. Well, not just her. Marcos was the one who made the decisions that destroyed our family. But after months of therapy and reflection, I've come to understand some patterns. What kind of patterns? Marcos has a history. Camila wasn't his first affair. I found out there were at least 2 others before her, one 4 years ago and another 2 years ago. The information hit me like a bucket of cold water. And you're telling me this because? Because in my healing process I spoke with the other women, and what I discovered was a very clear pattern. Marcos focused on married women who were going through vulnerable times. He made them feel special, seen, understood. He knew exactly which buttons to push. Are you saying Camila was a victim of manipulation? I'm not saying she's innocent. She made her own decisions, but I am saying that Marcos is an emotional predator who knew exactly what he was doing. And I think both you and I deserve to know the whole truth. Patricia took a folder out of her bag and slid it towards me. This is everything I could gather. Conversations Marcos had with a friend of his, where he basically bragged about his conquests, descriptions of how he identified vulnerable women, strategies he used. I opened the folder with trembling hands. Inside were printouts of text messages and emails. I started reading and felt a growing nausea. In one of the messages, Marcos wrote to his friend, "Camila is the perfect prey. Her husband is always working. She feels invisible. She's already questioning her self-worth. I just need to make her feel alive again with me." Another message said, "It's amazing how easy it is when you know what to say. You tell them they're extraordinary, that their husbands don't appreciate them, that they deserve more, and they fall like dominoes." There was more, much more. Conversations where Marcos analyzed Camila as if she were a project, identifying her insecurities and calculating how to exploit them. "My God," I murmured. "Yes," Patricia said in a bitter voice. "My ex-husband is an emotional sociopath, and he destroyed multiple marriages for fun and ego." "Why are you showing me this now?" "Because after talking with the other women, I realized that all the betrayed spouses deserve to know that this wasn't just their partner's weakness. It was calculated manipulation by an unscrupulous man." I closed the folder, my mind processing this new information. Does Camila know about this? I don't know. I haven't spoken to her. I thought about contacting her, but I decided to talk to you first. "Can I keep this?" I asked, pointing to the folder. "It's yours. I made copies of everything." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Patricia asked, "How have you been?" "With all this, I mean. Surviving. Some days are better than others." "And you?" "Same. Therapy helps, and time. Although there are days when I still catch myself wondering what I did wrong." "Yes, I know that feeling. Do you know what helped me the most?" Patricia continued. "Realizing that I can't control the actions of others, only my own. Marcos chose to be who he is. I didn't make him that way, and eventually, I found peace in that." Her words resonated with me, reminding me of what my own therapist had been telling me for months. After saying goodbye to Patricia, I drove back home with the folder on the passenger seat. My mind was a whirlwind of contradictory emotions. On one hand, this information explained a lot about how the affair had happened. On the other, it didn't change the fact that Camila had chosen to participate. That night, I couldn't sleep. I read and reread the documents Patricia had given me. Every word from Marcos painted a picture of a calculating manipulator who saw relationships as a game and people as pieces to be moved. Finally, around 2 a.m., I made a decision. I needed to talk to Camila about this. Not to get back with her, but because she deserved to know who she had really been involved with. The next day, I sent her a text message. "I need to talk to you about Marcos. It's important. Can we meet?" Her reply came in minutes. "Yes, of course. When?" "Today at 6 at my house." When Camila arrived that afternoon, she looked nervous. It was the first time she had come to the house since she had left almost a year ago. "What happened?" she asked as soon as she walked in. "Your message scared me." "Sit down," I said, pointing to the sofa. She sat on the edge with her hands clasped in her lap. I sat across from her and placed Patricia's folder on the coffee table. "I met with Marcos's ex-wife yesterday. She gave me this." Camila looked at the folder with wide eyes. "What is it?" "Evidence that Marcos is a serial manipulator. That you weren't his first affair. That everything he did with you was calculated and premeditated." Her face went pale. "What?" I handed her the folder. "Read." I watched her face as she read the documents. I saw her expressions change from confusion to shock, to horror, and finally, rage. "That son of a bitch," she whispered. "That damn son of a bitch. There were at least 2 women before you. Probably more that we don't know about." Camila dropped the folder on the table and covered her face with her hands. "It was all a lie. Everything he told me about feeling connected to me, about how I was special, it was all a calculated performance. Yes. He made me believe there was something real between us, that what we had was different, that I was different." Her voice broke. "I destroyed my marriage for a man who saw me as a game." "Camila, don't." She interrupted me, lowering her hands to look at me directly. "I'm not going to use this as an excuse. Yes, Marcos manipulated me, but I chose to believe him. I chose to cheat on you. I chose to prioritize my hurt ego over 26 years of marriage. This doesn't change my guilt." "No," I agreed, "but it explains the context. And I thought you deserved to know the truth about who you were involved with." Camila stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the garden where we used to have family barbecues. "Do you know what the worst part is? That part of me still believed that what I felt for him was real, that at least that emotional connection was genuine. Now I find out that not even that was true. I'm sorry. She turned to me with teary eyes. Why? You didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry you were manipulated. I'm sorry your vulnerability was exploited, but mostly I'm sorry this is causing you more pain. Roberto, after everything I did to you, you still care about my pain? You were my wife for 26 years. We shared a life. That doesn't just disappear because we got divorced. I don't love you romantically anymore, but I don't hate you either. I've reached a place of emotional indifference mixed with residual concern. Camila sat down again, this time on the same sofa, but keeping her distance. I don't know if that makes me feel better or worse. It's the most honest I can be. We sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, Camila spoke. What are you going to do with this information? Nothing. It's already done. The divorce is final. This information doesn't change that. And me? What am I supposed to do with this? Use it in your therapy, process it, learn from it. But Camila, you can't use this as an excuse not to take responsibility for your own decisions. Marcos manipulated you. Yes, but you were the one who decided to respond to that manipulation. She nodded slowly. You're right. Thanks for showing me this, even when you had no obligation to. Everyone deserves to know the truth, however painful it may be. Camila stood up to leave. At the door, she stopped and looked at me. Roberto, I know this doesn't change anything between us, but I want you to know that I've been working on myself, on understanding why I was vulnerable to Marcos's manipulation in the first place, and I've come to realize that our marriage had problems I didn't want to see. I've reached that conclusion too. We both failed to communicate. You by not sharing your pain with me by not being present enough to notice that pain. Do you think if we had worked on those problems earlier, this could have been avoided? Maybe. Or maybe Marcos would have found another vulnerability to exploit. There's no point in asking hypothetical questions about the past. We can only move forward. And what does that moving forward look like for you? I thought about her question. It looks like me, living my life authentically, building my own consulting company, maintaining healthy relationships with our children, and eventually, maybe being open to finding love again. I saw a flash of pain in her eyes at the mention of finding love with someone else, but she hid it quickly. You deserve it. You deserve to be happy. You too, Camila. Just make sure that the next time you look for happiness, you do it honestly and healthily. I will. I promise you. After she left, I sat in the silence of my house. For the first time since the divorce, I didn't feel the crushing weight of betrayal. Instead, I felt something like acceptance, the peace that comes from understanding that some things just happen, that people fail, that marriages end, and that life goes on anyway. 2 weeks later, I received another unexpected visit. This time it was Marcos. I opened the door and found him standing there looking haggard. He had lost weight. He had deep dark circles, and his clothes were wrinkled. He looked nothing like the confident man I had briefly seen at the cafe months ago. What are you doing here? I asked in a cold voice. Please, I need to talk to you. Just 5 minutes. I already gave you your 10 minutes months ago. We have nothing more to talk about. Patricia showed you the messages, right? Please, let me explain. I stared at him. Part of me wanted to slam the door in his face. But another part, the part that had been working on finding peace and closure, made me open it completely. 5 minutes here on the porch. You're not coming into my house. Marcos nodded, almost gratefully. He stood there awkwardly, wringing his hands. I know the messages make me look like a monster, he began. And maybe I am, but I need you to know that what I felt for Camila was real. It wasn't just a game for me. The messages say otherwise. You talked about her as if she were a project, a conquest. I know, and I'm ashamed of that, but the truth is more complicated. Yes, at first it was my usual pattern, but with Camila, something changed. I started to feel real things, and that scared me. And that's supposed to make me feel better? That in the midst of manipulating her, you developed genuine feelings? No, I don't expect it to make you feel better. I just need you to know the whole truth. I'm a broken man, Roberto. I've spent my adult life looking for validation in the wrong places, destroying marriages because it was easier than working on my own. And now I've lost everything. My wife, my job, my reputation, even Camila. Did you expect Camila to stay with you after everything exploded? Part of me did, but she made it very clear that what we had was a terrible mistake that should have never happened. And she's right. So why are you here? What do you want from me? Marcos looked me directly in the eyes for the first time. Forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I know nothing I say will change what I did, but I need to try to make peace with the damage I caused. I'm in therapy now working on understanding why I do what I do, and part of that process is facing the people I hurt. Well, you faced me. Do you feel better? I feel worse because seeing you, seeing your house, remembering that you and Camila built a real life for 26 years that I helped destroy. The weight of that is crushing. Good. You should feel crushed. What you did didn't just destroy my marriage. You destroyed my children's trust in relationships. You nearly drove Camila to suicide. You destroyed your own marriage too, so yes, you should feel that weight. Marcos nodded, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, God, I'm so sorry. Your apology means nothing to me. But if you really want to make peace with the damage you caused, then change. Become a different person, not for me, but for yourself and for anyone who might cross your path in the future. I'm trying every day. Good. Now leave and don't come back. Your presence here only reminds me of things I'm trying to leave behind. Marcos turned to leave, but stopped. For what it's worth, Camila really loved you. I know because she talked about you constantly, even when we were together. It was always you. If that were the case, she would have never been with you. True love doesn't betray. I watched him walk away, shoulders slumped, a completely defeated man. I felt no satisfaction, no justice, only exhaustion from all this drama. The following months brought significant changes. I officially launched my civil engineering consulting firm. The first contracts came in quickly thanks to my reputation and referrals from old clients. The work kept me busy and focused. Lucas got engaged to his girlfriend of 3 years, Maria, a sweet and intelligent elementary school teacher whom I liked very much. When he told me, I gave him a big hug and said, "You've chosen well, son. She's a good woman." "I learned from you, Dad," he replied. "Through all of this, you showed me what it means to have integrity and self-respect." Sophia finished her psychology degree and was accepted into a prestigious master's program. In a conversation over dinner, she confessed that her career choice had been influenced by everything our family had been through. "I want to help people navigate their relationships more healthily," she explained. "To communicate better, not to reach a point where they feel betrayal is their only way out." "I'm proud of you, my love," I told her. "You're taking pain and turning it into purpose." As for Camila, our interactions became increasingly cordial, though distant. We saw each other at family events, graduations, birthdays. We could be in the same room without uncomfortable tension. We had reached that strange place where the romantic past had transformed into simple shared history. On one of those occasions, during Sophia's birthday, Camila approached me while I was alone in the garden. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" she asked. "Of course." She sat next to me on the garden bench. "I want you to know I've met someone. Nothing serious yet, but it's different, healthy, and I wanted to tell you before the kids told you. I'm happy for you, Camila." "Is he a good person?" "Yes, he's a history professor at my school, divorced, with 2 adult children. We've been seeing each other for 2 months. It's going slowly and I like that." "That's good. You deserve to be happy. And you? Have you been seeing anyone?" "A few dates here and there. Nothing serious yet. I don't think I'm completely ready." "When you are, you're going to make someone very happy. You're a good man, Roberto. You always were." "Thanks. And you're a good person who made bad decisions. I hope you've learned from them." "I have. My therapist says I've made a lot of progress in understanding my patterns and developing better coping mechanisms." "I'm glad to hear that." We sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching our adult children talk and laugh with their partners and friends. Despite all the pain, we had raised 2 good, functional human beings. "Roberto," Camila said finally, "will you ever completely forgive me?" I thought about her question. Had I forgiven her? "I think so," I answered honestly. "It doesn't mean I've forgotten, but the anger is gone, the pain has faded, and what's left is just acceptance that things happened as they did, and that we're both in better places now." "Thank you," she whispered. "That means more than you know." 6 months later, I attended Lucas's wedding. Seeing my son standing at the altar waiting for his bride, with eyes full of love and hope, filled me with a deep joy. Camila was sitting 3 rows behind me with her new partner, Daniel. During the ceremony, our eyes met briefly. She smiled with tears in her eyes. I smiled back. We both knew that this moment, this son we shared beginning his own life's journey, was the true legacy of our marriage. In his speech during the reception, Lucas talked about marriage and relationships. I've seen both the beautiful and the difficult side of marriage, he said, looking at Maria. I've seen how love can build, but also how bad decisions can destroy. And what I've learned is that marriage requires constant honesty, open communication, and unwavering mutual respect. Maria, I promise you all those things always. After the ceremony, as I was getting ready to leave, Sophia hugged me tightly. Thanks, Dad. For what? For showing us that it's okay to set boundaries, that it's okay to walk away when respect is lost, that forgiving doesn't mean tolerating. Lucas and I are who we are partly because of how you handled all of this. I did the best I could, my love. And it was enough, more than enough. That night, back at my house, I sat on my porch with a glass of whiskey. 2 years had passed since that devastating afternoon when I found Camila with Marcos. 2 years of pain, growth, therapy, divorce, and finally, peace. My phone rang. It was a message from a woman named Andrea, an architect I'd met at an engineering conference last month. We'd been exchanging casual messages for weeks. Still on for coffee on Saturday? I smiled and typed back. Of course, I'm looking forward to getting to know you better. For the first time in 2 years, I felt a spark of excitement at the possibility of something new. I wasn't in a hurry, I wasn't desperate, I was simply open. Camila's betrayal had shattered me, yes, but it had also forced me to reevaluate my life, to grow as a person, to set better boundaries, to understand the value of self-respect. In a strange and painful way, her infidelity had been the catalyst for me to become a stronger, more authentic version of myself. Was the pain worth it? No, I would never wish that suffering on anyone. But since I went through it, I at least transformed it into something meaningful, into growth, into wisdom, into peace. And that, finally, was enough. I looked at the stars that night, thinking about the whole journey. 26 years of marriage ended by 8 months of betrayal. But what emerged from those ashes was something unexpected, a version of myself I never knew I needed to become. Camila had chosen her path, I chose mine, and we had both learned painful lessons about honesty, communication, and the value of self-respect. The kids were okay, I was okay, even Camila was okay. Sometimes families don't stay together, sometimes they break apart, and sometimes, just sometimes, that separation is exactly what everyone needed to find their way to true peace. Have you lived through a situation where you had to choose between your happiness and the comfort of others? Have you ever had to forgive a betrayal to find peace, even if that didn't mean reconciliation? I'd love to read your experience in the comments. If this story resonated in any way, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep sharing these stories. Thanks for staying with me until the end.